My name is David. I'm here at Motorenn, and I really want to share with you my insights about the auto industry. I know the overall internet's been abuzz with some of the new information regarding the Ferrari Testarossa 849, and I kind of want to share with you some of my thoughts on whether that's going to be a bomb or a success. Now I bring that because the last couple of modern Ferraris have actually been kind of bombs in terms of where the market is. They started out well, the SF90 and the 296, they went up in market, and right now they're very hard to resell. And your owners are seeing a lot of depreciation on those vehicles, which is atypical for a lot of Ferrari vehicles, historically speaking. 458s, 488s are really going up in value. Pistas and Speciales are exploding, and yet somehow 296s and SF90s are not. So is a new Testarossa 849 likely to be something that you want to add to your stable, or is that going to be a depreciation magnet? I think really we have to look at it in three lenses: performance, aesthetics, and overall experience. And we have to compare that in relation to the SF90 to see kind of where we might think that goes. So if we talk about performance, I think it's unquestionable that both the SF90 and the 296 provide absolutely fantastic performance. On track, they're wonderful. Customers who we've had who take them on track said these are perfect performers. They're so good. It's in line with what reviewers have said. So I don't think there's an issue there, and I don't expect there to be an issue on the Testarossa 849 that it will have any on-track performance issues. Getting beyond that, though, we have a couple weaknesses in the new Ferrari lineup. So if we look at appearance, I think if we go back to the SF90, I think there were a couple of weaknesses with the SF90 appearance. I think it looks like a good car, but I wasn't in love with the aesthetics on it. Overall, if you take a step back on the SF90, it really harkens back to the Ferrari F8. It's really based off of that chassis as you compare them side by side. They look very similar. The SF90 just has a sharper, longer, pointier front end, which I personally didn't find as attractive. Still a good looking car, but just not the beauty that you would expect at that price point. And I think that hurt it a little bit. In terms of the Testarossa, what I find really cool is Ferrari is leaning into this 80s motif. And I think that makes a lot of sense for the core buying demographic. Most of the buyers are in their upper 40s to mid 60s. And that generation really grew up in the 80s, right? Either you were a young child at that point or you were really getting into your formative early career years. And that was a period which was really iconic for them. So to pull on that styling makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of cues in terms of the SP3 design language, as well as the old Testarossa design language. And I think that was a good choice for them as well. The SP3, as we see on the market right now, is doing fantastically. Look, it's got the naturally aspirated V12. It looks beautiful. And that car, I think, first MSRP at around $3.5 million. And right now they're retailing secondhand at 6.5 plus. So that's a success. And I think the Testarossa leaning into that will be good for them. So when I look at the overall appearance on the outside, I think it looks good. A couple body lines that I do have some concerns about that I don't find fully attractive. That front black strip on the front does look like one of those leather car bras people used to put on Mustangs back in the 90s. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But I can get over that. And then there is that black line around the rear air vent that looks a little jarring and kind of breaks up the flowy lines of the vehicle. But outside of that, I think it actually looks really good. I actually really like how it looks, and I think that will help it perform. Where the SF90 really fell down, I think, is that overall user experience. And the Testarossa, I think, ideally will overcome a lot of that. It looks like Ferrari has taken a lot of that feedback and made some adjustments. We'll shift into the cockpit here on a 296 we have, which overall has the same cockpit as the SF90. We don't have an SF90 in inventory at the moment. I'll go over a couple of those items. All right, so we're in the cockpit of 296, which is effectively the same as the SF90. And I think I'll highlight some of the items that people complain about this new generation of Ferrari in terms of what they've accomplished here. I think what we see on the Testarossa in some of the first pictures is that they've really changed the layout of the steering wheel and come back to a button version of that wheel. I think the issues with this in rendition of the Ferrari steering wheel were, one, you didn't have a physical button, which was really cool on the historic Ferraris to start the car. So you only have a touch button right here. I've already got the car on. The other aspect of it is all these buttons are capacitive touch sensors, and they're slow to respond. So if I'm strolling through the window, I can often not get something to happen. So I just click 3 times, and a couple of those were not engaging, or it may be a little too sensitive, so it really distracts as you're driving. Additionally, the voice command function is, maybe this is a me issue, but I found if I'm turning the left turn signal, more often than not, I'm accidentally potentially touching the voice command issue. It didn't engage that time. Oh, now it has engaged. And now if I was playing music, it stops the music to ask me what my Ferrari command is, and I'm saying cancel, cancel. And now finally cancels. So a couple of issues with that, and I get it, it's a first world problem. It's a high-end Ferrari problem, but it's at this price point, it shouldn't be a problem in the 296 or the SF90. And then finally, the hybrid system doesn't engage the way I would necessarily expect. Look, when you buy in a Rolex, you expect a certain experience. When you buy in a Timex, you expect a different experience. This is a Timex experience here. It's fully hybrid. I'm having drive. I can't force the engine on, and I want the engine to be on. I put it into race, it doesn't do that either. I think only when I have it like full like CT off or ESC mode off or something like that, it does something of that nature. Otherwise, I have to actually click through a couple of menus. I have to go into vehicle, into vehicle, into vehicle, and then go to the charge screen, and then click that. And now I've accidentally hit the wrong button and I'm going into CarPlay, and I have to go back, I have to go to vehicle. Look, I think you get the problem here with this experience. It does look like Ferrari's taking that feedback in. We've talked to other colleagues in the industry, other salespeople at Ferrari, and that's the number one complaint of Ferrari owners for the modern Ferraris. It looks like they're changing it, and I think if they do, that'll be a big step forward, or maybe a big step back to where Ferrari needs to be. So I'm excited about that potential change in the Ferrari Testarossa. So now that we're back out, again, the rumors are, and from the pictures, it looks like Ferrari is very much so updating that driver zone, which I think will be a very positive change to the overall experience. And again, when you have those stressors or have those issues with it, it really detracts from the fact that you're buying a $500,000 to $800,000 vehicle. That shouldn't be a problem at that price point. Finally, in terms of the overall regen aspect of the vehicle, I do think it's been an issue on that car where if the starter battery dies, you can't start the car. But then the hybrid battery pack also, again, doesn't charge as you're driving unless you force it to charge. And that can be an issue if you're on a longer road trip and you get to the terminus of your trip and then that hybrid battery runs out of power. Well, now you have to tow that car to Ferrari to get it started again. And that has been a massive issue. I understand Ferrari is making updates to their hybrid system. I see some verbiage about making it more track-oriented as well. Hopefully they have some aspects of it to make it more user-friendly in terms of that charging experience on that vehicle. And I think if they do, they'll really be able to change the overall ownership experience on that car and help residual values of those vehicles. So with all that in consideration, I think the Ferrari Testarossa is likely to be a hit, more so than the SF90 was. In terms of the appearance, I think it's a very nice upgrade. It looks very good. In terms of performance, I'm absolutely positive it will perform. In terms of user experience, it looks like Ferrari is really taking some of the notes and making adjustments. We'll ultimately have to see how it actually pans out, but I'm optimistic on where it's trending. So in terms of getting in line for one of those, I think it's less risky to get one of the Testarossas than if you recently took delivery of SF90. I think the Testarossa is likely a car that will hold value and potentially go up, but we'll have to see when it finally comes out. In the meanwhile, if you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe. We'll continue to produce this type of information as we share our experience and information with you.